Today is Wednesday, December 27th. This is a second attempt at doing a video for Sunbeam Rolls. Specifically, the feedback I got was make it shorter. I'm going to try. So I've kind of lined up and prepped all my ingredients here. So we're going to try to give it a shorter version of what I had last time. I also made some changes just on the amount of flour that we're going to start out with. So let me move my camera here. So what we have for Sunbeam Rolls is 3 eggs. We need 2 packages of yeast, 1/3 of a cup of flour, 1/3 of a cup of sugar, 650 grams of flour to start with, a cup of milk, a teaspoon of salt, and a stick of melted butter. This is going to get melted. So we'll get that in the microwave. First thing we need to do, we also need is a 1/4 cup of warm water. Quarter cup of warm water. And into the 1/4 cup of warm water, put a teaspoon of sugar for the yeast to eat on. And then, because I don't buy packages of yeast, I buy my yeast in bulk, the equivalent to 2 packages of yeast is a tablespoon, a teaspoon, and a 1/2 teaspoon of yeast. That all goes into the warm water, and it gets left there to get nice and foamy. While that's activating, it's called proofing the yeast, we will heat up a cup of milk in the microwave. We also want 3 room temperature eggs. The eggs I will put in warm water if they're right out of the refrigerator. Crack them into the bowl. I think I'm going to change the angle here. Let's just pause this. Okay, there we have 1 egg, 2 eggs, 3 eggs into the bowl. The yeast is getting nice and foamy. And our milk just got done warming. Get that in a moment. Okay, so the problem with the milk is I overwarmed it. Need to cool it off. I'm going to do that with the cold butter that needs to get melted. Since it needs to get melted anyway, we'll just throw it into this milk. That will serve the dual purpose of melting the butter, melting some of the butter at least, and cooling that milk off. yeast in there. You want your ingredients not to really be any warmer than about 100 degrees, because you don't want to kill your yeast. I'm going to cool it down here. Add more cold butter to that. I'll give this a pause, and when we come back, we'll be adding the milk. Okay, I've got my milk cooled down, and all of the butter, almost all the butter, has gotten melted in that warm milk. So, oftentimes I will just melt the butter in the microwave, but since I got my milk too warm, I'm going to just cool it down with the butter, melt the butter in the milk. My grandma used to do it on the top of the stove. I remember her having a saucepan with the milk and the butter melting in there. The milk scalding and the butter melting. Pretty much just the way I did it, except not using the convenience of a microwave. All right, now the next thing I'd like to add to this is a third of a cup of sugar. I'm getting a third cup measure. Third cup. And then to my flour. I don't like adding salt to my yeast. Salt inhibits yeast growth. So you need 1 teaspoon of salt. And I will put that in my flour. So I just like to think that it doesn't give the yeast such a hard hit of sugar or salt as if I would put it directly into the wet ingredients. And just mix it in. Now this is, my last video I did 600 grams of flour. This is 650 grams. I ended up adding more flour, a lot more flour than the 600. So I thought, well, let's just start out with the 600. So I put part of it in, mix it up. I'm going to put a dough hook on this as soon as it gets mixed in to knead it a little bit. You do need to knead it a little bit to get incorporated and to get the body of and the structure of your yeast dough. Don't want to overdo it, but you do need to do it. And you'll see this very chunky, rough dough will turn into a smooth dough. And what you want is a very smooth, soft, sticky dough. It's a little difficult to work with, but once it goes through a rise, you'll see it gets a lot easier to work with. I get my dough hook. That's pretty well incorporated. Now is the point where you may need to add more flour depending on the consistency of your dough. Well, that's working. I can tell it's already smoothing out, but I will clean up and get ready to roll out my swap out. I've already got one batch mixed up that I've got to roll out. Ooh, that's looking good. Now, let's see here. Now I can tell this is just a little bit too soft. I need it a little bit firmer than that. I'm going to add a little more flour. So what I've got here is another 50 grams of flour. I'm not going to add it all at once because I might not need it all. It's roughly half of it. Ooh, that's looking pretty close. I would almost call it done, but I just want to add just a little bit more. I'm not even going to add all of it. The last thing you want to do is put too much flour into this. It's really hard to get it back if you put too much flour in. If you put too much flour in, you're going to wind up with a tough, dry roll. Oh, that's perfect. I can tell it done here. And I can just tell it's, you know, it kind of rolls off of the dough hook like taffy. And I have a little bit of dry pieces on the bottom here. So I'm going to just turn this over. Make sure these, make sure these dry pieces get incorporated. So we're going to work it just a little bit more. Working, I'm going to get it pull out. What I want to do is turn that out into an oiled bowl. A little bit of canola oil in there. My dough scraper. There you have it. Get the rest of this off of here too. Just want to turn this over. So it's going to be a really soft dough. That's okay. That's what you want. Don't over put too much flour in there. I'm going to pause this while I get this cleaned up and we'll get ready to roll out the sliders. All right, we're back. Here is the rolls. The first batch I made. All nicely risen. Time to pull those out. I roll these out on a silicone mat because you don't want to add any more flour to these. You can tell this texture is completely changed. It's gotten firmer. It's a little easier to work with. Need my dough scraper though. Get the last little bit of dough out of there. Now the last video I did, I made crescent rolls. In this one, I'm making sliders. What I'm going to do is gently knead this, and this is going to tighten up the gluten and make it even easier to work with and less sticky. I'm going to make 18 sliders. I put it on a parchment covered pan. You can grease it. I find though that when I grease these and I put an egg wash on, they still stick terribly to the pan. So it's just easier putting a sheet of parchment paper on there. So 18, I'm going to divide this into 3 equal hunks. And to help me get equal rolls, I'm going to weigh it. That's 380. Yeah, that's what I thought. 380 is going to be a little small. I usually find these are about 430. That's 424. And that's grams. This is 442. And that's 430. So this one's just a little bit on the big side. Let's see here. Now it's on the little side. There, we got 430 on the nose. This one was a little short. 436. Close enough. Okay. All right. There's not much to see after this point. You can turn off the video. Otherwise, all you're going to see me is forming 18 sliders. And because I'm kind of nutty, I'm going to try to 58, 50, that's too big. I knew that was going to be too big. 72, I'm guessing that's going to be about right. 72, 78, 98, 106. All right, we're going to go bigger. 86, 84, 78, 78, 72. We're going to add a little bit more to that one. 84, 84, 78, 88, 86. There we go. These are all roughly the same size now. They weigh roughly the same size. You're going to get roughly the same size balls. So all I do is flatten it out. You roll it. You're going to have 3 rows of 6. And like I said, don't use any more flour. And I think we will pause this because there's really no reason why you need to watch. Well, I suppose I can edit it. You know what you can do at this point? You can speed up the video and watch it in double time. One trick that I do also when I'm making these is that halfway through the rise, so I get 1, 2, 3, oh, you know what? I only do 5. I guess we're doing 15, guys. That works too. 3 rows of 15. I didn't realize I'd done that. I can't count. Oh well. These are nice size anyway. What I was about to say is that I will press these down a little when it gets halfway through its rise so that they're not too domed. Sometimes I find that you get too much of a dome on it, and I like it to be a little flatter, like a hamburger roll, because that's what we're doing today. We're making a hamburger, well, we're having ham sandwiches. That's what these are for, is the ham sandwiches. Okay, rather than 6, we're doing 5. Now we know they're about 86 grams each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this one is really too big already. $82. 86, 94, way too big. 82, good. 94, a little too big. 84, 76, 96, 86, there we go. 86, 82, 86, 82, 86. All right, we got them all roughly the same size again. One thing to remember with these rolls is you do not want them to over rise. If you let them rise too long, you start to have the yeast turn into an alcohol flavor, and what happens is the yeast eats up all of the sugar in the dough, and there's a lot of sugar in this dough. You want it to be on the sweeter side, and you don't want to lose that sweetness. I am going to pause this and you guys can see the end product in a little bit. All right, I'm back. We got them all done. Here we go, 15 sliders. I have another batch, so I should have plenty for everybody. And so what I was saying is I like to push these little guys down a little bit more. And it's okay if they touch. They pull apart real nice. when they're baking, after they're done baking. So it's okay if they touch a little bit when they rise. So these are gonna get almost double again. And then we're gonna put them in the oven, 325 degrees for about 20 minutes. Maybe 15, depends. But they'll get nice toasty brown. I like the 325. You'll see recipes that range in temperatures. I do it on the low end because I find they get too dry if you bake them on too hot of an oven. And I also like them a little more toasted brown. So I'm gonna pause, you guys, and hopefully I won't lose you and I can show you what it looks like right before I put them in the oven. Toodaloo. Hello, we are back. And here are our rolls that are all nicely risen. I'm going to give them an egg wash. This is 1 egg beaten with about 2 teaspoons of water. And gently brush that over all of the rolls. Like I said, now these go in an oven at 325 degrees for about 20 minutes. I'll see you when they're done.
Stemmed from time he spent with his mother-in-law, Matilda.
And so here we have the final product. Oh, they're hot, straight out of the oven. 15 sliders, hamburger rolls for our ham sandwiches later on today. Enjoy. So there you go. That's how I make my Sunbeam rolls into sliders. I'm sorry that this still ran a half an hour. Someday I'll try to learn how to edit videos. But in the meantime, enjoy. Watch it at double speed. Love you all. Bye. Mwah.